So you're sitting in a sociology class, learning about social structures, culture, and human behavior, and you might be wondering, what am I actually going to do with this? You're probably thinking academia, or maybe social work. But what if I told you that everything you're learning right now could prepare you for a career on the front lines of public safety? Today, we're going to explore a powerful and maybe unexpected connection, a sociology degree and a career in law enforcement.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's a common idea that sociology is this soft science with a pretty narrow set of career options. But the skills you're building right now, really understanding people, how society works, how to analyze data, well, those are in super high demand in fields you might never have considered.
And that's what we're diving into. We're going to break down how all that critical thinking, that data analysis, and that cultural understanding you're getting in class, well, they aren't just for passing exams. They are absolutely essential tools for policing in the 21st century. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the practical stuff. The things everyone thinks about when choosing a career. What's the pay like? What's the job security? What does that career path actually look like?
Right out of the gate, let's talk numbers. The median pay for police officers and detectives is over $77,000 a year. Now that's a really solid starting point, and it's definitely competitive with a lot of other jobs you could get with a social science degree.
And what about finding a job? While the outlook is incredibly stable, we're talking about over 62,000 openings projected every single year for the next decade. A big reason for that is retirements, which means there's a constant need for fresh, new officers to step up and fill those roles.
So your journey in law enforcement is probably going to start as a patrol officer. You're the face of the department, the first one on the scene, handling emergencies. But after you get some years of experience under your belt, you can move into a role as a criminal investigator, a detective. And that's where things shift to deep, analytical casework. That's where you really get to flex those investigative muscles.
And check this out, that career path really pays off. As you can see, that move from being a patrol officer to an investigator can mean a huge jump in your salary. And the top 10% of investigators, they're making well into six figures. So yeah, this can be a very financially rewarding path if you stick with it.
But let's be real. This job is about so much more than a paycheck. It's a career with some incredible psychological highs and some really tough lows. So let's get into the heart of it, the intense reward and the very real risk.
So what is the biggest reward? What keeps people in this demanding job? It's something you can't really put a price on. It's this powerful sense of purpose, a deep, gut-level motivation to protect the community, to be a peacemaker, to genuinely help people. That's the core of it. That's what makes the job a calling.
But that sense of purpose is under constant fire. Officers face this barrage of serious stressors. We're talking daily exposure to trauma, the crushing weight of paperwork and office politics, and on top of all that, this intense public mistrust and scrutiny. It's just a relentless emotional grind.
And all of that creates this really tough psychological paradox. On one hand, you have this deep fulfillment from helping people. But on the other, the nonstop stress can lead to burnout, frustration, and even emotional detachment just as a way to cope. It's an incredibly demanding space to live in, and frankly, it's why the skills you're learning are so darn important. So how do you not just survive in an environment like that, but actually thrive? Well, this is where your sociology degree becomes your secret weapon. It gives you the exact toolkit you need to navigate this incredibly complex world.
Think of your degree as a professional toolkit. First, you've got critical thinking, the ability to look past the surface of a problem and ask, okay, but what's the real reason this is happening? Then you've got data analysis, using real evidence to build rock-solid cases. And finally, cultural competence, the skill of navigating a diverse public with respect and a real understanding of the social dynamics at play.
And here's where that toolkit makes a life-or-death difference. Research consistently shows that officers with a college education, especially in social sciences, are better communicators. And those skills are absolutely critical for de-escalating tense situations, for reducing the need to use force, and for building actual trust with the people you serve. Okay, so let's take this one step further. Your degree doesn't just make you a better officer on the street, it actually equips you to be part of the solution, to be a real force for change in the massive, ongoing effort to reform modern policing.
One of the biggest ideas in both sociology and police reform today is this concept of police legitimacy. What does that mean? It's simple. For policing to work, the public has to believe that the police are trustworthy, that they're fair, and that they're really acting in the community's best interest. Without that trust, the whole system starts to fall apart.
So how do you build that legitimacy? The answer is something called procedural justice, and the idea is really profound.
It's about making sure that every single interaction is fair, transparent, and respectful. When you do that, people are more likely to follow the law, not because they're afraid, but because they actually believe in the system.
Your sociology degree also gives you the framework to critically analyze different policing strategies. So take the famous broken windows theory. The basic idea was that small signs of disorder, like graffiti, lead to more serious crime. But a sociologist looks deeper. They see how zero-tolerance tactics actually eroded public trust, how they hit minority communities way harder, and how they totally ignored the root economic problems.
And this right here is where it all comes together. These big sociological concepts you're learning about, they have direct, practical applications on the street. Collective efficacy becomes partnering with communities to solve problems at their source. Conflict theory means using data to find and reform biased practices. And understanding systemic inequality, that means we stop just blaming bad apples and start fixing the policies that lead to bad outcomes in the first place.
So here's the bottom line. A sociology degree does more than just prepare you to be an officer following a rulebook. It trains you to be a social analyst who truly understands the why behind crime, and a structural reformer who can help build a better, more just system for everyone. Which leaves us with one last question to think about. As we're all searching for ways to improve policing and build stronger communities, maybe, just maybe, the solution starts right where you are, in that classroom, learning to see the world not just for what it is, but for what it could be. And maybe you're the one who's going to help us get there.